Hey, what's up guys? Jake with Legacy 4x4 here again, and today we're going to be working on some pretty quick and simple tube doors for the side of my 1950 Willys project. So I've looked up some other examples of tube doors online. I found a couple that I like, and I'm going to steal a little bit of design cues from. Let me go ahead and show you guys what this looks like on BenTech before we get started. Alright, so as you guys can see here, it's a pretty simple design. It's a J-style lower bar with a little bit extra bend at the back end, and then just a really simple shallow bend on the top bar. This will provide a little bit of dimension to the doors themselves, but it shouldn't be enough to distract away from the rest of the truck, and it'll provide the purpose that the doors are needed, which is just something to kind of keep the passengers inside the truck during some of those harder wheeling sessions. As you can see here, BenTech does a very good job of showing you the length of tube you need to cut, the bend location, and the bend degrees that are going to be necessary in order to make whatever it is you designed up on there. Once you get a hang for BenTech, it's super easy. Using the program is just as simple as if you were measuring out on the ground. All right, but that's BenTech. That's what we got working with. Let's go back outside and start working on this project. All right, we're back outside now. Now, I have had issues recently the last few weeks getting DOM tubing local to me. I don't really know why. It might have to do with just a supply issue. Who knows? But I happen to have exactly 135 inches of 1.5 inch DOM up on the shelf. And I played around with the design on BenTech until I found a design that uses exactly 135 inches of tube to make. So, with that said, I have to try to do this entire project today without making any mistakes and without wasting any tube, and I'm going to have to be extremely exact with my cuts on the saw as well so that I don't accidentally overcut and make one of these two doors different than each other. But I think it's going to be okay. These aren't that complicated, so I'm not that worried about it. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pull out the tube and I'm going to start cutting it down to the length. I'm going to make both of these doors at the same time so that I can ensure that they both look exactly identical to each other as we go. All right, so we just got all four pieces cut out. And like I said, I had exactly enough tube to get this done properly. So this is all that I had left over from that piece of tube. So there really is no room for mistake. This is about 1/4 of an inch thick piece of the tube that was just right at the end there. So with that said, with how little we have left over, we really don't have room for very many mistakes here. So we're gonna be very diligent as we move forward on this project. But let's go ahead and keep on moving. All right, so we got the four pieces here laid out. The two longer pieces are what's going to make our lower section of this, and then the two shorter pieces are going to make the upper bars here. I'm going to start by making the lower bars first, just because they involve two different bends, and I want to just get those up and out of the way quickly. So I'm going to set these to the side for now. Now, when it comes to laying these out, you kind of got to get a feel for your bender, and then you got to kind of calibrate it with BenTech. But once you calibrate it and once you get a feel for your bender after a couple of test bends, it's super easy to do. Doing multiple bends like this on a single part, it does help a lot to have extra clamp blocks. I used to only have one of these 1.5 inch clamp blocks, but Rogue Fab happened to see the Dodge roll cage video, and they noticed I only had one of them, and they sent me a spare one. So now I've got two, so thanks to those guys. This video is not sponsored by them or anything, but I will say that they did give me a free clamp block thanks to that Dodge video. So we got that going for us. It should make bending up these two lower sections of this door a lot quicker process now. So thanks to them for that. Anyways, let's go ahead and mark these up and put them onto these pieces of tube here, and we'll go shove them in the bender and see how they look. right, pretty quick progress. You guys saw that I did hand notch all of these out here just using the vise and an angle grinder. For some of the more complex angles, that was a little bit easier to do than trying to get it to fit on my Versa notcher. Easy enough though. There's a little bit of gappage. It's easy to fill. It'll be able to fill just with the welder just fine. So not too worried about that. As you just saw, I did just lay out and tack both the doors together. This is the general shape of one of them. Pretty straightforward. I am going to cut this little piece up here. Will get cut. It's not going to have a super tall tail like that, and it'll just be a nice compressed section here. I'm going to go through now and fully weld all of this, and then we've got to get started on the truck side of the thing and actually like get to the point where we're putting on the hinges and kind of laying things out in a way that's going to fit. I'm going to have to do a little bit of finagling. These are a little bit shorter than I wanted them to be. I was hoping they'd be a little bit longer to cover up a little more space in the door sill. I'm going to have to do a little bit of weird stuff, I think, to make it fit, but we're going to make it work. I'm going to go ahead and clean these with a wire wheel to make sure that we get nice, clean, good, solid welds on these doors, and then we're going to put them onto the truck and start working on that. Alright, so we got the structure of the doors completely finished. Now it's time to put on the hinges, and then after the hinges, I'll install the latches. For the hinges for this, I am going to use a bullet hinge. You can get them on Amazon. They're commonly used for like smokers and things of that nature, but I've used them on a few different projects. If you follow this channel long enough, you have seen me use these before. For this application, I'm going to use 4 of the 3-inch variation of these. I'm doing 2 on each side. They look a little something like this. Pretty straightforward. They're a weldable hinge, and it just has 2 little parts to it with a brass washer in between the 2 parts of the hinge. They are greasable, which is a nice touch, especially for something like this, which is gonna see use off-road. So it's nice that they can be greasable in the event that they start to get like kind of sticky or they don't work properly. And then lastly, they're nice because if you install them properly, it makes these removable. You can just pick the doors up and off, and they're easy enough off the truck, and now you can go doorless if you really want to. So that's what I'm going to be using for these. Let's go ahead and put these onto the doors here, and then we'll hang the doors onto the truck, and we'll start to see what this looks like. All right, another great project completed. Let me go ahead and show you guys what this looks like kind of close up, and we'll talk about some of the design cues I used and the building of these tube doors, and then what comes next on this Jeepster. All right, you can see here the latch system, and this is probably the most complicated part of the entire build, and so I'll talk about this first. The latch is a Trail Gear latch system. It's one of their slam latches. You can get them on Summit or on Trail Gear's website. They're about $15 a piece. They're a simple product. All it is a latch here that has a curve to it and then a hole for this to slide into, and then this is just a spring-loaded canister with a nut on it so that it just slams right into place and holds it locked down. And to release it, all you do is pull back on the little black nut and the whole thing comes apart. Pretty simple. I had to do this little jut here because I was running low on tube for this project, and so I couldn't get this to go as far out as I would have probably originally wanted it to, but DOM tube is hard to find right now, so we got what we got. This is just a little 6-inch jut that comes forward from the back roll cage of the truck. I used a gusset at the top and at the bottom to provide some stability, and it's also welded to the body, which has had a inner running tubular support here. So there's plenty of strength to this little section here, as you can see, to provide the support necessary for this door to stay into place. Now, let's move to the front of this and look at the hinges. For the hinges, I used 2 of these bullet style hinges that I got on Amazon. Lava Lock makes them. They're usually used for smokers, but they work great in this application. I've used them on a bunch of other stuff in the shop as well, to include the Plasma Tables control box. They work great, and I love the simple look of them. Bonus points too is they are removable. So you can see if you pull the door out, the door does come fully out as soon as you want it to, very easily, which I think is ideal for flexibility on this truck. Looking at the rest of this door here, we kept the overall design extremely simple on purpose. And the reason for it is I didn't want to overcomplicate the middle of this or take away from the rest of the truck. Now, this truck does have a lot of tube work, and so it's obviously going to stand out already just because of that. But I didn't want to be too much and too obnoxious with a bunch of crisscrossing tubes and everything else in here. I wanted it simple so that you have a place to rest your arm when you're driving, and just something to kind of keep you from feeling like you're going to fall right out of this in the event that I do use this to do some pretty hardcore off-roading. I might add a plasma cut Willys logo or a Jeep logo or an American flag or maybe a Legacy logo. I might add something to this. I haven't fully decided yet, so that might be coming in the future, but that'd just be a quick little tack welded into place and move on. But for now, this project is done. All right, so sticking with the theme of this Willys, let's talk cost real quick and time. This took me a total of about 6.5-ish hours to do from start to finish. And it cost me one 10-foot section of 1.5-inch DOM. Now that DOM cost roughly $80 where I'm at. So that DOM combined with the Trail Gear latches, all 4 of the hinges, welding wire and things like that, we'll call this project probably about 130, 140 bucks. Not too bad for some custom tube doors. And I love the simple nature of these doors and the way they look on the side of this truck. I'm really excited to keep moving forward with this project, obviously. So I think way this will work is we'll probably do an interior video next, and then after that it'll be a front end finishing up video, which might include steering. Hope you guys are enjoying this project. I know I am. It's coming along really quickly, and I'm excited to get this thing out on the trails here in a few months once it's all finished up. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and take care.